Hello everyone and welcome to Purple Shirt History. Welcome to the new set as well. Today we're going to talk about the AS Paper 1. This is going to be a step-by-step guide as to how to do this document question. The Paper 1 question will really test your writing technique more so than your background knowledge because most of the answers you can find within the sources themselves. It's just a matter of doing the paper in the right way. Please let other students find this video by hitting like and subscribe. It really helps put us up through the algorithm. Thank you very much for your support. It's much appreciated. Now sit back, relax, get comfortable, grab your notebook and a pen, and let's learn about how to do the Paper 1 for AS History. Here we are back to the handy-dandy syllabus, the most important document for the course, looking at the Paper 1 description. So Paper 1 document question, written paper, you'll have 1 hour and 15 minutes to finish it, and it's worth 40 marks. There's two questions. The part A is worth 15, and the part B is worth 25. Candidates will complete one document question on one of these options, European option, American option, international option. I did videos on all this stuff, so I'll link the AS playlist in the description. Whatever you're taking, if you're taking European, American, or international, there's videos for each main component. Please watch that, and that'll help you out a lot. The document question changes every year. So for example, for the European option, I believe it's about Germany this time around, coming for the summer 2025 exam. Just make sure you know you're studying for the right option. Otherwise, you're going to be really disappointed when you get something that you haven't been studying and have no idea what to answer. Double check whatever option you're doing, what the theme is for that year. On to the different parts of the question. Part A, candidates will be expected to consider two sources on one aspect of the material. This is just a simple comparison. Read source A and source B. How similar are they for whatever? Or how different are they for whatever? Or do they agree on whatever? So not much different than the IGCSE document questions. The sources may be a little bit more complex, a little longer. A key aspect of doing the paper 1 well is being able to read the sources well, but also quickly. Not spending all of your time reading, marking up the source as you read so you have ready-made notes when you're ready to start your answer. Part B, candidates will be expected to use all of the sources and their knowledge of the period to address how far the sources support a given statement. So usually there'll be about 3 to 4 sources. I think 4 is the most common, but at least 3 or 4 sources is the norm thus far. This got redone in 2021. Make sure you know how all the sources address the question. So that statement at the end, that's the how far statement. To a small extent, moderate extent, large extent, and you'll be able to answer that question effectively, and I'll give you a tip on how to do that soon. Candidates must answer both parts of the questions they choose. Again, no picking and choosing between options. That is a massive mistake. I'm sure you know you need to answer all parts of one question. Sources will contain a maximum of 600 words, and there will be at least 3 sources on a specific issue. 600 words, that's a lot when you're feeling the pressure of time conditions. Hopefully you'll get sources that are much shorter than that, but do expect to read one long source. There may be visual sources that will take less time, but please manage your time well in order to get all of the source questions done within the allotted time of 1 hour and 15 minutes. Evidence will contain material from a range of documentary sources, so that's pretty self-explanatory. So if it's about Germany, maybe you'll get something from Bismarck, maybe you'll get something saying Bismarck is bad, you'll get it from a French perspective, a German perspective, a British perspective, who knows? So you need to know that range of sources. This video is recorded in September of 2024, so you have almost a full academic year to study for the 2025 exam. If you're watching this 4 years after 2025, hey, it will recycle again to be Germany again for the paper 1. If not, just like I said, look at the syllabus and you will know what particular topic you're going to have to study for the sources. American option is origins of the Civil War for summer 2025, and the international option is about League of Nations in the 1930s. This is for the teachers watching this video. So these are some activities you can do with your students. Source comprehension, this is, the most basic thing you can do. So give a source, give 2 sources, and have them practice what they would really do in the exam. Look at the particular aspects of the source. What does the source say about the issue? What does it mean about the writer's attitude? Take feedback from learners and discuss. Looking at the source, the audience, the date, the purpose, the author, the reliability, and what the source teaches us. So look at all those things, and you should have a nice exercise doing source work. Inferences: show learners a cartoon. If you're a student, do this by yourself. Your textbook should have lots of sources in it. Look through them and try to see what that person was trying to convey. Common errors: this is the biggest pitfall for the document question at IGCSE and AS, is just misinterpreting the source. Unfortunately, that may knock you all the way down to level 2. If you don't properly say, okay, this source is saying Bismarck was key in German nationalism, and you completely misinterpret that and say he wasn't that important, then you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to drop a lot of marks. Comparing sources for similarities and or differences. We've always said you have to look at both sides of anything, from IGCSE to AS to AL. You need to say, okay, they're similar in this regard, they're different in this regard. In conclusion, then you make your evaluation. These are the things that are absolutely fundamental in being a Cambridge history student. You can't say everything is similar or everything is different. There's always nuance. You have to judge the two sides and see which one you think is more suited towards the statement that's given. Using a single source to consider the impact of the provenance. We'll talk about the provenance in a second when we look at the actual steps of doing document questions. The provenance is so important. The provenance tells you so much of the information you need. That's why you start by reading the provenance. You don't start by reading the paragraphs. Always know where the source comes from first before you start reading it. Comparing two sources and suggesting reasons using contextual knowledge to explain why they are similar or different. So we still are using appeal structure in document questions, but the points you make are then followed by evidence from the source. Use the evidence from the source, and then you can back it up with your knowledge. Your historical background knowledge will be part of the explanation of the evidence that's given within the source. So that's very important. You have to use the source itself as evidence. And the last one, sources which both support a specific prompt for a Part B question. Give learners two sources which both support a specific prompt for a Part B question, and ask them to explain how they support the prompt using evidence from the source to explain their answer, which is what I just said. And the other side is consider the attribution and what they know about the context to decide if one source is stronger evidence than the others. I would use at least 3 sources because that is more of a simulation of a real Part B. So you're not going to have just 2 sources for a Part B question. Why not go all the way and do a 3-source practice? Work under time conditions. This is something you should always be doing. Never just casually answer a question because that isn't really helpful practice. You need to do it under the amount of time you would have in the real exam. Last but not least, set targets for the future. So like I said, this is made in September, October, November. What's after November? December, January, February, March, April, May. May is usually when the test is. So you have a lot of time if you start in the year. Set some milestones for you to do over the course of the academic year so you feel very comfortable in doing the document question. There's a lot of information on this page, but the only thing I'm going to really bring up is designing a mock or practice paper. Everyone in AS history needs to do a mock before the real thing. You should do 2 mocks. So you should do a mock before Christmas, and you should do a mock around March, April at the latest. So your teacher should really be making you mock exams. So ask your teacher if there will be mock exams. If there's not, please ask him or her to include them in, because doing a mock gives you that feeling of pressure that you really can't experience otherwise. Make sure your teacher is giving you mock exams. I told you that this is more of a technical paper than a knowledge paper. The paper 2 is almost pure knowledge, but paper 1 is much more important the way that you do it. Here's the secret formula I'm going to share with you right now. Step 1 is to read all the questions. Look at the prompt for the questions first. You'll have an idea of what to look for when you're actually reading the sources. So just don't wildly start reading at the beginning of the paper. Go all the way to the end, read the questions, and that'll set a nice framework for you to look for stuff that will answer those questions. Next, read the sources, read all of them, starting with the provenance. Do not start reading the paragraphs first. Wrong. That is not going to help you out as much as reading the provenance first. Again, it sets boundaries for you. It sets a framework. you should have an idea already by reading the provenance of what the source is going to say, if it's going to be pro or con. So you need to start with the provenance. Circle any dates, circle names, key information in the provenance. Make sure you are marking up the paper. Nothing makes me angrier as a teacher than getting a mock exam or an assessment back and there's no markings on the assessment or mock exam paper. It's clean. I can use it again for a new student. That is terrible. There should be writing all over the test paper. Circles, jotted notes in the margins, underlines, all that stuff. I can already tell by looking at the test paper how good the answer is going to be in most cases without even reading the answer. So make sure you are marking up the paper a lot. Next to the source, if it agrees with the question or the statement at the bottom, write a plus. If it disagrees, draw a minus. If it's somewhere in the middle, if you really can't decide, put a tilde. So if there's 4 sources and 3 of them are plus and 1 is minus, it's going to agree to a large extent. So kind of have that formulation with each source. For visual sources, do the same exact thing. Start with the provenance. You'll see who's talking about it, who made the source, when it was made, and you'll get all this key information that will really get you started off right. Same thing, mark up the visual source. Circle, if there's a face, circle the face. Who is it? What is their facial expression? Are they happy? Are they angry? Are they shocked? That is a kind of keyword, clue, to how they feel about what's being talked about. Circle all those things, mark it up, put in the keywords, and then you'll have some ready-made notes when you start answering your question. Make a quick writing outline. I know there isn't a lot of time for planning, and most students skip this, but if you just write a little, 10, 20 word outline that you can use, it'll keep you from going off course and losing time, lost in the woods in your own writing. Outlines keep you on track. You will save more time than spend when you write an outline. This is really important, and especially if you know yourself and you have a tendency to kind of just keep writing and writing, it'll keep you in check. When I was a student, that was my problem. I would just want to talk so much about one thing, I couldn't stop myself. So an outline really helped me stay on track. And I think if you have that kind of same tendency to really keep going and not go on to the next thing after you've already made your point, trust me, this will be something that will help you out a lot, like it helped me when I was a kid. So you'll have your points, you'll have your evidence directly from the sources. In source A, it states blah, 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 blah. In source B, it says that blah, 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 okay? So underline in the actual source, and then you can copy that stuff down. Don't copy the entire paragraph, obviously. Just 1, 2 sentences max to show that you comprehend what was being written. Last but not least, write your answer. Clean, short, clear points, followed by evidence from the sources, and then explained with your own background knowledge and the greater context. Use your time wisely when writing your answer. Always look up at the clock, maybe every 2-3 minutes, just to see you have enough time to finish. Be very conscious of the time constraint. Last but not least, you should read your answer. You should have enough time to read what you wrote. Again, this is another step that most students skip, but you can really catch yourself. You can catch errors. You can add more information that's lacking. So reading your answer, when you get that 5-minute warning, if you only have 2 minutes left, read for 2 minutes. This can make the difference between getting an extra mark or 2, which can change your grade for the better. Reading your answer, I can't recommend it enough, not just writing to the last second. I'll put up the key questions and content for all of the AS topics. Please go to the videos in the playlist and watch them so you can get the content knowledge to implement in your paper writing. The Russian Revolution is not the current topic, but when that comes around, I either will have a video for it, or you can just look at the IGCSE depth study for that content knowledge.